Let me open the attendance. Yeah, so attendance is open, guys. You can write. Yeah, good afternoon, Sahil. You guys did not have a class right now, right? Not just before it. We might actually have some reshuffling in the classes. Actually, Indra ma'am wants to take both her lectures, right? One for CSAI and one for IT plus together. So I'll just have to relook the the timetable to figure out if it is possible. So we'll see if there are any changes in the schedule. We'll tell you maybe by evening. Okay, but otherwise, as of now, the usual timings are going to be there. If there is a change, we'll tell you. And please mark your attendance. Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, sorry.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
So tomorrow we are having labs,
Pardon?
right? So do we have labs tomorrow?
Yeah, you have labs.
Okay, sir.
Uh, yeah, and one more thing. See, I tried my best to arrange a solution for you guys from the institute for running the programs, but I don't think it will probably be possible for me to be able to get it for you guys. So I'm really sorry. So the only option that I can now give to you guys is that you can probably code on uh, these online compilers, right? I mean, because if I am not able to get you guys a VM, then I don't have the right to ask you to write your code on Bash. Okay, so you are free now to write your code anywhere. I'll have to talk to the TAs. I'll have to explain to them that from now on, accept any code that is written on these online compilers as well. But the idea is that I'm not going to force you to work on Bash. I just hope that you understand why I did it, because I wanted you guys to at least know how programs are compiled and executed in the background. If I had given you the option of using the online compilers from day one, probably you would not even have figured out what is this minus L option, and what is the difference between what is a dot out. All those things you would not have understood if we had gone to these online compilers from day one. So I hope that uh, yeah. So I mean, it's actually good that if you guys can use Bash, but I understand that there are some students for which this is this is a problem. So I cannot force them to use some Linux solution. I cannot arrange one for them. So yeah. So I would still strongly suggest that if you guys have a Linux based solution available to you, work on that. Okay, it's going to be helpful for you in the longer run. You can shift to these online compilers any day, right? But the skills that you will learn if you use Bash and you run your code on Bash, that is a different skill set altogether that you will not be taught in any course. Okay, so This is something that you have to pick up on your own. So, use that as an opportunity to learn. But as I said, it's no longer a strict a strict condition that you have to do it on Bash. I'm going to relax it from this lab onwards. You can, especially for those students who do not have a proper laptop to run these things. So yes, you can go and use some online GCC compiler, and you can write your code there. Okay. So how many people do I have now? 64. So please put your attendances. It's only 47 right now, and we have 64 people here. So we'll probably, how many are there now? 67. Why is there a low turnout? I thought, was there a class just before this class? Because I guess there is a 15-minute break, right? From 12 to 12:15. So yeah, then you guys should have been here by time. Yeah, so then you guys had a long, maybe it was too long a break, right? People switched off their laptops and went out it to get some sun. So yeah, it's. I mean, I'm sure there are people from different parts of India, so maybe they don't share the same weather as we do here in Lucknow. But yeah, it's been very cold for the past maybe a week or so, 4 or 5 days or so. But so we get intermittent sun once in a while. So in Lucknow, so today the weather is good outside. So I thought maybe maybe there are some people who are still in the sun and not yet come back. Okay, so I guess yeah, we have crossed 70, so we can start. So the first thing first. So Shreya told me that the form that she had sent to you guys, there are 210 responses, and there's only a difference of 30. Okay, so 120 people feel that there should be recorded lectures and shepherding, but 90 people feel that it should be live. So again, I really wanted it to be a much bigger difference so that it becomes obvious what is it to be done. But one of the things that some of the students in the other batch said is that some students want recorded lectures but without shepherding. That I could not understand really what exactly do they mean by it, that they want the lectures to be recorded but without the shepherding. I'm not sure what exactly do they mean. Maybe they just want me to be the shepherd or something like that. So the idea that they said, and I agree to that point, is that sometimes the shepherds themselves get confused because they may not have that good a grasp on the concept. So I think the solution that we had discussed for that is that I relaxed this condition the week before midsem itself, that we will actually not I will not force anyone to be a shepherd anymore, right? So I do understand that every batch will have at least say 5 or 6 people um, who have done the programming before, and they'll, in fact, some of you might actually be much better at it than me, because it's been more than 10 years since I coded in C. So I'm probably more out of touch. There are so many things that would have happened in the past 10 years which I may not have known. And if you guys have done coding just maybe in the 10+2 syllabus, then you guys will actually be much more aware of certain things as compared to me. So anyhow, so the idea is that if you guys are shepherds, it's good for the class as well. So I'm going to drop that idea of randomly selecting people. I only was randomly selecting because I thought it will force you guys to study, right? But if you guys feel that that is not helpful, so I'll drop that idea altogether. So this week I'm going to have volunteers as shepherds. So if you know the concept well, and I'm sure that every both sections have at least 4 5 students who have done programming before, so they can anyhow be shepherds for probably every class. I know you guys can probably teach better than me, so so then those guys can actually be the shepherds in most of the classes, and this way I'll probably be, I'll just only come in when uh, recording. So yeah, I mean it's all getting recorded. I'm not sure what was your issue. Um, so yeah, so basically this is the idea that we will continue currently, at least in this week, with shepherding, and and what I've done is I've asked Shreya to enable the edit option on the responses of that form. So if you still want to go and change your option, you can do that. Okay, so you can say that, no, I would like this over that. But the idea is from here onwards, I'll only ask for volunteers. Okay, I'm not going to force anyone to be a shepherd. So that only those people who'd like to do the shepherding because they already know the concepts related to that lecture, they become the shepherds. Okay, and of course I will keep on coming in whenever I feel I should. So that was the other aspect. So we'll start with, and as I said, so you can still go and edit your responses if you want. Okay. Okay, so any volunteers for today? We are going to discuss functions, the introduction part to the functions in this lecture, 7.1. Are there any volunteers who would like to? Anyone can be volunteer. Repetition is allowed now. You could probably be the shepherd for all the classes if you want. Oh, no volunteers. I usually get so many of you. Okay, Sahil is one. Sahil, let me just keep on adding it. Your roll number and section.
And section is CSAI and
Hmm.
42.
CSAI 42. Okay. And okay, Sahil. Uh, who else? Pranav. Pranav, your section and roll number.
So AI 10.
AI 10. 10. Okay, got it. Who else? Anyone? Anyone can be a shepherd. Okay, so Nehal, roll number 1. Okay, CS1. Oh, that's the easiest roll number to put. Mm, 1, 1. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Uh, and then anyone else? I'm fine with at least 3 shepherds. But if there are more who would like to be, I can accommodate up to 5. Otherwise, we'll simply start with 3. It's okay. Okay. So I guess 3 is fine. I'll just share the screen. Okay, so you guys can start with the questions. There's at least one question for which even I don't know the answer. I wrote it, but then I realized even I don't know the answer. But let's see, maybe somebody knows the answer. There was one person in the other batch who knew. So let's hope someone knows the answer. Anyhow, you can start.
So I don't think your screen is visible.
So screen is not visible.
The screen is not visible actually.
But it still shows that you are sharing the content.
Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can start.
Okay, so I'm starting. The minimum number of functions that can be seen in a C program is one because the flow of the program always starts from the main function. So it is like a necessity. It has to be there in every program because that's where the execution starts. And you might, of course, have any number of more than one functions which you call from within main, but main is necessary because without it, the program won't know where to start from. So main is the starting point, so it has to be there.
So it's fine for us. So I think, yeah, guys, any questions or we'll move to the next one? Sahil, would you like to?
The question is, it is necessary to create user-defined function. My answer is no. No, it is not necessary. If you work for any program to run any code and you have the main function, library function, then and you can work in that function as well, then it is not necessary that you have to create any user-defined function. Like there are many library function which you can use directly adding the header file. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Any
Should we move to the
questions?
next question?
Let me any questions, then we will try to answer if any have any question. I think Pranav, we have to move for the next one.
Yeah, okay, so how many values can a function return? So as far as I know, a function can return between 0 and 1 values. So it's either the return type is void, in which case nothing is returned, and otherwise the return type is something like int, double float, maybe a struct. So in that case, just one pointer is returned, pointer or value. So if you want to return more than one values, you can define a struct, or you can put them in an array and then return the pointer to the struct or array. Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, we haven't yet seen structures, so the answer is
Oops.
yeah. So
Okay,
it's
so for now, only arrays is the only way to return more than one values.
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, even when you return an array, it's essentially like you only
It's
return
a
one.
point. Yes, sir. It will be a pointer if we are returning an array.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is that you cannot write something like return I comma j. That is the idea. Okay, that it can only be like one thing that you can return at max.
Yeah, I wanted to ask return, like if we write if else and we are saying like return this and return that inside the if else, are they considered as different or they are the like same?
Okay, so when your program is executed, either the if block is executed or the else block is executed, right? So if the if block is executed, the return statement inside that if, the first return statement inside that if is executed. Otherwise, else wala return. So basically, if you have two return statements in a row, the first return is executed and anything after that return is not executed at all.
Okay, so here question is referring to like return something or return void. Only these two. Like we can't do like return, like if you have int a and int b, we can't do like return a and b.
No, you cannot do that. You can put them in an array and return the pointer to that array. That is the only thing you can do. If you want to return more than one ints. That's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Generally, we write in the starting of the function int main or void main. What they actually mean? If you use void main, what happens?
So void main basically says that, as I said, there can be either 0 or 1 return values. So void main says that there are 0 return values. So if you have a function that just prints something or manipulates global variables, then you can have a function which returns nothing. Whereas if you have a function that maybe adds two numbers or calculates average of an array, then you can have more than then you can have int return type or double return type, whatever. Does that answer your question?
In that case, we no need to mention our return type.
No, the syntax of function definition always needs to have a return type. It may be int or void, or it may be int pointer or whatever.
Actually, Pranav, code still runs if we don't, define the return type. Means if we start the code from main itself without writing int or anything, then also code runs. I mean, it shows a warning, but it still runs.
Okay, then I don't know what he's
Yeah,
referring to, but as far as I know, in standard C, you have to have a return type in function definition.
Yeah, so actually, the idea is that the default return type for any function, if you do not provide it, is int. Okay, so that is a standard in C. That if you let us say you just write a main or just write the function name directly, right, ABCD, without giving int ABCD or void ABCD, by default it is int. That is it is the return type defaults to int. That is the idea. There are some questions in the chat. Yeah, somebody had a question.
Okay, I answer Ayush's question. Is it necessary to define which type we are returning? Yes, it is necessary, because if we do not define what we are returning, the compiler will assume that we are returning an int. So if you try to return something other than int, and you have defined that, if you're not defined, it will assume that int, and if you try to return something else, then it will have an error.
Okay,
I
got
hope
it.
that answers the
Got it.
question. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Jay
so
Mehta, that is
basically,
because
it has to be a compatible data type. That is it. So, for example, if your data type, if your return type is int, you can probably return char and short. That is not an issue, right? Because it will be converted implicitly to int. But if you try to return a double, then there will be an error. Okay.
yes, sir. Yeah, so Jay, why is it not necessary to write a return statement in main? Because if you do not write a return statement in a function which returns an int, it is assumed that the return is 0. So if you do not have a return function, the compiler automatically inserts a return 0 in the end of the function. I hope that's, yeah, right. Any other questions?
I just wanted to add that. Oh.
मतलब कोई भी फंक्शन अगर अपन इंट से डिफाइन करें तो उसमें रिटर्न डालना जरूरी नहीं है, मतलब वो डिफॉल्ट 0, मतलब रिटर्न 0 डाल।
हाँ, मतलब अगर तुम्हें 0 रिटर्न करना है, तो अगर तुमने ऐसे इंट सम ऑफ ए एंड बी कर दिया, तो फिर अगर उसमें रिटर्न टाइप नहीं डाला तो फिर उसका आंसर 0 आएगा।
नहीं, सिर्फ अगर रिटर्न 0 करना है तो डालने की जरूरत नहीं।
हाँ, डालने की जरूरत नहीं, करेक्ट।
I wanted to add that, like, if you have a function which returns, say, double or char, and if you don't return anything, or you only use the return keyword without actually returning a value, then, like, for int it is 0, and similarly for double it will be 0.00000, and for char it will be the null character, because if you typecast it to int, that is 0. So every data type, it converts it to, like, the closest thing to 0. For int it is 0, for float or double it's 0.00, and for a char it's the null character. So the default is always that.
I wanted to ask if, as far as I know, that sir also told that if we write return 0, it simply means that the function has like ended successfully, and anything after that won't be used for compilation or won't be seen. So what is meant by, like, if it is taking as return 0.000 or return null 0? Like, return 0 is just uh, the explanation for that the function has ended here and you can stop
Return
compiling
0
after that.
indicates that the function, that this is true only for the main function. Like, when we write main, we always end it with return 0. So return 0 in the context of the main function, it indicates that it has run successfully the entire program. But return 0 can mean anything else in different functions. This thing that it signals success, that's true only for the main function.
Yeah, that is the only point I also wanted to make, that return 0 discussions that we've had, that is only applicable for main, not for other functions. Okay, for other functions, it's similar to like what you guys have been using in the library functions, right? I mean, if it is sqrt, it is supposed to return a double. If it is too lower or too upper, it is supposed to return a char. So that zero and non-zero discussions, the return part that we had once, that is only applicable for main. For other functions, that is not applicable.
Sir, we can
If we
call it
write
just a convention that we are returning 0 when the function has executed successfully.
Yes, this is actually a convention. This is something that people who've written these system calls and these lower level APIs, they have basically come up with a convention that your operating system, whenever it creates a process and that process exits, it actually expects a return value from the process. If the value is 0, it assumes that everything went fine. I'm not sure how many of you have used Windows. Windows used to have something called as a compatibility mode. I'm not sure whether it is still there in Windows or not, but when we used this Windows 7 and Windows XP, there used to be a compatibility mode. The idea of the compatibility mode was, let us say you are running a program in Windows 7, which was actually written for Windows XP. So it may not work properly, it may or may not work properly. So what will happen if you run a particular program, and let us say the return value was not 0? Windows will probably assume that something went wrong. So it used to show a simple message box that did the program work correctly. If it did not, you can try to run it in the as an administrator or in the compatibility mode. So that was just a suggestion, it was a kind of suggestion that I'm just guessing that maybe what Windows looked there was the return code of the process, and if it was non-zero, Windows assumed that something went wrong. So it used to show a suggestion that you can probably use compatibility mode, or run it as an administrator. So these are some conventions. Okay, certain operating systems can use these conventions in order to be more user friendly. So if the process returned a non-zero value as at the end, um, the operating system might show you something more. It might say, it looks like your program did not end well, and would you like me to restart it for you, something like this, right? But that is a pure convention, and and there is no standard definition for non-zero values as well. So for example, what if you return 1, what if you return 2? There is really no meaning provided to 1 and 2. Okay, it's up to you. You guys may have seen these things like sometimes when a program crashes, it will show you error code 101 or 1119, something like that, right? Some integer, some number. That is most probably the value that your program returned at the end, and this is often used by developers for debugging purposes. That let us say there are n number of ways in which your program might end, and then you want to show the user the return code, or you want to log the return code somewhere, so that it can tell you, okay, exactly what exceptional condition happened because of which your program exited. So these return codes are more of a convention thing, right? So we return 0 as part of a convention that everything went well. Otherwise we return something else other than 1. But both these things are applicable just for main. Okay, for other functions it's all up to you what you are returning. It's up to you. You define whatever you want.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, in CP classes, I learned a very interesting thing that in the function we create, like in C++, if we write int main function, then it will we can return only return. If we return anything, it will be returning anything in int. So if we write char main, like a char function,
Mhm.
it will return character. So if
Mhm.
in the main function we write int main, so can we write like char main, and we can return, if we return, we can return in null character.
Sorry, in between I after char main I could not hear.
Sir, I was saying that like int main,
Uh-huh.
can we use char main, double main, so that we can return whatever we want, like
See,
according to it?
as far as the idea is this: the final the final returned value that is actually used by your operating system is an integer. It is not a float, it is not a double, it is not anything else. Okay, the final value that is supposed to go to your operating system is an integer. Now exactly what how will your compiler handle something like double main? Char main probably should not be a problem. I mean, maybe it could be a problem because char is a smaller range data type as compared to int. I think long might be fine. I'm not sure. That even I have to check. The idea is that the final returned value to the operating system has to be an integer, and double, I am pretty sure it should give you an error that double main does not work. Um, the error or warning might be in a different fashion. It might be a warning, for example. So do you know that you can actually write a C file where there is no main at all? Okay, we can simply write some C statements without any main. It's just that particular file is not executable. Okay, if you run GCC with it, it will probably not give you an error, but you will not have an a dot out. And if the a dot out is produced, then uh, or maybe you will have a linker error. Okay, your LD, there used to be an LD error, right? LD returned status. You might have seen this error if you did not link the math library. Have you seen that error? LD returned status 1 or -1, something used to be there.
Yes,
That
sir. Yes, sir.
right, that return status shows that LD finished without without being able to do your job. Okay, that is why it used to say LD finished with status something else. That status is again the returned value, right? That your LD is your linker, the linker which finally creates your executable file. So most probably, if you do GCC -o, okay, you can compile a file even without having a main function. So in such a case, if you define double main, it will compile, because it will consider that this is not the main that it was looking, or there might be a warning like an existing declaration exists for main. Even I will have to check out what does the current compilers do with a main whose return type is defined to be something else. But what I know for sure is that the final value that must be returned back to the operating system has to be an integer. Now it is possible that your compilers might have become more advanced, and they might jump in between, and they might convert your 0.0000 to 0, but it is highly unlikely. So just run the code, try with double and char and other types of return type, and tell us what happens.
Sir, just now I ran a code. I changed like int main to double main, and I didn't change the return 0 to 0.000. It ran successfully. Then I removed the 0. Then it showed a warning that return with no value in main function, returning non-void, and it showed also that double main, like it is declared here that double main.
Okay, so then try to return a non-zero value. Okay, see what happens.
Yes, sir. After that I returned 0.000, and then it returns like it compiled successfully.
No, compilation is something else. Try to run it, see if it runs. Okay, see if it
Yes,
gets
sir. It ran. Enter the year it asked.
Okay,
And
so
I
that is
entered 5.
right. So that is what I was saying, that the current compilers, they have a way probably to typecast your 0.0000 to 0. They have put in some mechanism. That is what I was saying. That but not in mine. So Sahil, you also tried, it didn't work, is it? So
Yes,
that
sir, I tried, but it shows error. Therefore, it shows that main must return int.
right. So that is the issue, right? I mean, that is why it is very difficult to tell you such behavior, because that is compiler specific, that is implementation specific.
Can be due
There
to
might be a
GCC.
difference. There might be a difference between your GCC versions.
Yes,
Sahil might have a
sir.
different. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right? So both the Sahils might be using different GCCs. So that is the issue. So but the idea that one concept that you can certainly take away from here is that the final value that gets sent back to the operating system is an integer. Okay, so now whatever you are doing in your code, whatever jugglery you are doing in your code, that has to finally produce an integer. Now, some compilers may be smart enough to do truncate values or typecast values and finally retrieve an integer out of it. And some others might simply raise their hand and say, "Sorry, this is an error. I can't compile this." Okay, so that is the. It's just that finally your program should return an integer. That is the idea. Okay. So, sorry, I have again, hijacked your shepherding. There are so many doubts in the chat I have not read. So, Pranav and Nehal and Sahil, please have a look at the chats and try to answer them. All
Guys,
the
do you
doubts.
mind rewriting your questions?
I think all have been answered. They were all to do with
Okay.
the return type of main. So yeah.
Okay, so if you still have your question, please type it again or just unmute and speak. Okay. Meanwhile, we'll move to the next question. How many values can a function receive as arguments? So would anyone like to? Okay, I think there's a question.
Sorry, let me intervene in here because this is a question I did not know the answer. So I know that probably in Java there is some restriction in number of bytes, I guess, right? That the amount of input that you can send to a function that has some practical limits. So someone in the previous batch told me that the answer to this is 125. Now I have not checked it. I did
No,
not
sir, it's
get
not.
the time to
I
check
just
it.
checked 500.
It's
That is
127, I reckon, for C and
and then that
for C++.
because it's actually implementation dependent. Okay, exactly how much inputs you can pass to a function, that is again an implementation specific thing. So that is why I said even I don't know the answer to it. I wrote this question, the idea was a function can receive 0 or more inputs, but then I realized that this is not well phrased. uh, you know So the only idea I want you guys to take away from here is that you can basically send as many inputs as you want. I mean, there might be some practical limit, as I said, practical as in 125 or 500 or something like that. But basically, feel free to pass as many arguments as you want to your function. That was the idea. It's just that it can return only one value, but you can send as many as you want. That was the idea of that question.
Sir, I use two kind of like in the double, like just now I wrote the double main and I returned A, like sir, just A. Then it wrote that you can't, like A is not declared, so I just declared char A and it ran. And not only in the uh, like code runner, but also in Bash Ubuntu terminal.
Sorry, Sahil, I mean your voice broke in between.
Sir, I was saying that using double main, I returned A. I used return A, just A character. It
Okay.
said that you have not declared A, so I declared like char A, just char A, and it ran.
No,
So,
then
sir, I
A
don't
has to be in
understand. Like,
single. A has to be in single quotes, right? Just writing
uh,
return A means A is a variable. If you want to return A, then it has to be in single quotes, right? A, the constant, has to be in single quotes, like this. Return A, like this. This, if you write this, then here A is a variable, right?
okay, sir. So I have okay. So, sir, it is just considering it as a variable which has not been assigned a value yet.
Yeah. So you are basically returning a garbage value.
So, sir, the garbage value can be anything. Like, let's
So
say it is a character, so it will not be a 0. It will be something.
it could be 0. It will be a garbage value. You don't know what it would be. If you just write char A and return A, you are just returning some garbage value because you
Okay.
have not given A any particular value. Then what will be the initial value of A? It will be some garbage value, and that the same garbage value you are returning, right?
Okay, sir.
Uh, yeah. So sorry. I mean, I know this is not the best way to go about, but uh, arguments and parameters, yeah, they are same. Sorry, no. I use them interchangeably. They are the same things. Rohit, don't get confused. Okay, they are basically the same thing. Arguments and parameters. Um, this is my fault. I should not have used two terms for the same thing. It will be confusing. Uh, yeah. So sorry, Pranav, Nehal, Sahil, you can go ahead.
Okay, so I'll try to answer the fourth question. I'll try to put a theoretical maximum on the number of values that a function can receive. So according to me, the maximum would be 10,48,576 because that is the maximum size of stack that is taken usually, like 1 MB is the size of the stack. So what happens when you call a new function is the parameters which you pass to the function are put on the stack and then the function is called. So if your stack size is 1 MB and if you try to put more than that number of arguments on the stack, that -1, actually it should be -1 because the return address is also pushed on the stack. So in that case it will be
Yeah, so Pranav, I think the idea is that this is what I also thought, that because in Java it is exactly the same, that it is not the actual number of arguments, it's the total amount of memory that your arguments are going to occupy, right? So for example, you can declare one array of character size, which take up those many number of elements, right? 1 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever you just said, and that is enough. Okay. The idea, by the way, guys, is that you can declare practically a lot of inputs. Okay, you can practically give a lot of inputs to the functions. There are, of course, because we are working with limited space and limited memory and everything. So yes, there will be some practical limit, right? But the idea is feel free to put as many number of parameters or arguments, they are saying, by the way, for your function. The idea for these two questions was that you can take as many inputs as you want in a function, but you can return back only one. That was the idea. Um, and we'll see how we can actually return multiple things once we see something known as call by reference. But for now, that is what the idea is, that we should simply pass multiple inputs can be passed to the function, and only single value can be returned. That is the idea. Yeah, what is what is going on in the chat? What return? That is it, right? I mean, just like writing return will work. As a putting a return statement is essentially, so as soon as your uh, code sees a return statement from whatever path it is, right? So like Pranav has said that you might write one return statement in an if condition and another return statement in the else condition. So only one of them will be executed at any point of time, and as soon as the return statement is hit, no other statement is executed in that program, in that function. Okay, that is right. Okay, so last question,
So,
guys. Yeah, go ahead.
so one more thing for this. So I don't think the size of the array will matter because the pointer to the array is put on the stack. The array itself is in the heap.
Right. I mean, the idea, sorry, you are right. So basically the idea is that the total amount of memory matters, right? I mean, so for example, let us assume that the total size of your stack is, let us say, 100 bytes or so, right? And you need something for return address, let us say 4 bytes for return address. um, then you have 96 bytes, right? So you can declare 96 characters, you can pass 96 characters, or you can pass 24 integers, right? Does that make sense, what I was trying to say? That the total amount of space that is there in the stack is limited, so the sum total of the memory of all your inputs has to be smaller than that. That is the idea. It could be a variation of different data types. That was what I was trying to say.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I would ask that in the slide you said that in the arguments we can write void also. So what does that mean? Can you give an example of that function where we use void in arguments?
Uh, yeah. So arguments, basically it's like this. Um, uh, when you this void written in the arguments is only a part of declaration, not definition. During definition, you simply leave the parenthesis without anything, right? But for certain, in fact, I should have added this in the question. So there is a term called function prototype. Okay, so prototypes are kind of the standard way to provide declarations. You can actually provide declarations in a number of fashions. Okay, there are some non-prototype declarations as well, but prototype is the best way to declare a function. That's like the standard, the good practice. And so in the prototype, if a function is not taking any argument, we simply write void there. But when you define the function, when you write its body, there you simply leave the function as it is. So let me probably write this in the. So if I'm declaring a function like this, void hello. Mm, right. Hello void. So this is a declaration, and let us say when I'm defining, I write something like this: void hello. I simply say printf hello, and I sell this, right? Now when I call this function, I will call it like this: software, like this, right? I'm not passing any arguments to it, and I'm not expecting any outputs from it, right? It is usually these kind of functions are used to do some kind of side effect. Side effect as in, we'll discuss global variables tomorrow. So such functions can be used to manipulate global variables. They don't take any inputs. They don't provide any outputs. Um, or they might be used to print something on the screen, things like this. So this is an example. Check. Okay. Yeah, guys. I'm very sorry to you, Nehal and Pranav and Sahil. Please take over again.
Would you guys to explain actual formal parameters, or should I?
I can.
Okay, I guess I. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so actual parameters are the ones that are passed to the function. Like, suppose inside your main function, you are calling another function. So, suppose you have one, like there was an example in the slides, a trim function which takes a character pointer. So, if you call that inside main, so you'll say something like trim, and within the parenthesis, you will pass in a character pointer. So, what the value that you're passing in, that is the actual parameter. And now if you think about where the function trim is defined, so where it is defined, then those parentheses we might use like something char asterisk, and we'll name that variable whatever, that pointer. So that variable, that name is the formal parameter, because the formal parameters are the ones which are the ones inside the definition of the function, and the actual parameters are the ones which are passed to that function from the calling function.
Nehal, you can use this as an example. You can use
Oh,
this.
yes, sir. So we can see here the first there is the declaration which says that it takes one argument of the type integer, and then we see the definition of the function, and here it inside the parenthesis we see int I. So int I here is the formal parameter, because formal parameters are there in the definition, and then we can see that later it is called, and 5, which is an integer value, is passed into it. So 5 here is the actual parameter, because I mean, it makes sense because the actual parameter is the one which is actually going into the function. So 5 is the actual parameter, and j is what we call the formal parameter inside the definition of the function.
Yeah, so it is I'm not sure. Microsoft Word is not helping me out. So basically, the formal parameter here is I, and the actual parameter is 5. Okay, so now you guys can start with any more questions. We have actually finished off in time. So if you have any more queries, you can ask. And this number of arguments to the function, even I will have to go and check. So Nihal says that there is a practical limit on 127 arguments. The explanation by Pranav seems to be more of what I also know about, right? So because I know that there is a practical limit on the memory, but there can also be a limit on the number of arguments. So I'll have to check.
So actually, I was wrong about that. It's not the maximum. 127 is the minimum number of arguments that each compiler should support. This is what the C standard says. So it's the minimum that it should
Ha
support.
ha
So
ha.
we can be
Right.
safe using up to 127.
Yeah, so basically that is the idea, that minimum might be 127, maximum is very difficult to actually tell. It might be implementation specific. So that is why it was probably a poor question to put in there. The only thing I wanted to do was when you, and even 127 is a lot. So usually I don't think I have written any function that has taken more than 10 arguments or so during my actual development work. So even 10 is huge, by the way. So the idea is that when you write functions, just be very liberal with the number of arguments you are passing to your function. You are, practically it's unlimited. It is practically unlimited. That is what I was trying to say. And but the returned value is only 1. you can only return one value from the function. So that was the idea of that question. And now we can actually have more discussions. We still have 5 more minutes. If you have any more doubts, you can ask.
Sir, is it necessary to take inputs only in the main function, or we can take the inputs in other functions also by calling from main?
Sorry, Jay, I lost your voice in between. I'm not having a good day today.
So I'm asking that is it necessary to take the inputs in main function only, or can we take the inputs in other functions also by calling from main function?
I do not hear anything necessary to whatever you said after that.
So I try to
Sir,
answer. Okay, so basically, you can, if you are talking about scanf, right?
yeah, scanf, or
Yeah.
if we take
So
array input, like.
yeah. So if you have scanf or fgets, you can call it from anywhere in your program. It doesn't matter. So you can have another function which like get value or something like that. You can declare a like void get value and it returns. So you can have scanf there.
So in that case, what arguments should we provide in the function?
It depends on what you want to do with, like, let's say you want to take two numbers and print out their sum. In that case, you don't need any arguments to that function because it can just scanf directly. So it will be like void func, void, then open curly braces, scanf percent d, and then another scanf percent d, and then you can have printf a plus b and done. Yeah.
I think I can give an example for how to like input an array because I tried creating it earlier. Actually, suppose you have a program where you're taking like more than one array as input, and you don't want to again and again, use a for loop and then input all the elements. Actually, I did this in C++, but it should be the same thing. So what I did was I created a function which in which you pass the number of elements in the array. For example, you want to take two arrays, one of them is of size m, the other of n. So you can call that function twice, once with m and once with n, and inside the function when you define it, you can make a for loop that runs from 0 to m minus 1 or n minus 1, whatever the formal parameter is, and then you can use like suppose you can use scanf or whatever to take input. So that way you can, so here in this example where you're making a function to take input for an array, you can pass the pointer to the array where you want to store the input and the number of and the size of the array. So that way you can, so I think like this will be an example that you were saying, that to take input, like you're outsourcing the taking input part to another function.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I hope, yeah, I hope my voice, at least it is clear to you guys. So I hope the problem was solved, Jay. Any more queries?
Sir, I have sent you an email the essence of what the doubt was. If you can check.
Yeah, Sahil, I just saw it. So yeah, that is the idea that the other Sahil was not able to execute a program where you created a main with double, but here you are able to. So clearly, there has to be some difference between your GCC versions. So just match GCC versions between each other. Also, can you also just okay, this is terminal only, right? It is VS Code, but
Yes, sir.
right, huh?
I
So
installed
then this,
WSL, so I guess it is using the compiler of its own.
no, it should be some GCC version only. just match your GCC versions. What is your version and
So
what is
like
the
I installed like WSL from Ubuntu, like
Mhm.
Ubuntu 20.04 WSL extension for
Huh. So yeah, it's
this.
okay. Just check your GCC versions. Um, that is
Okay.
the only thing that, right? Because this is that is why I said that this is basically a kind of your GCC is very it's very forgiving. That is the idea. The other GCC is not that forgiving. The
Sir,
idea
but
is
even if it's forgiving,
yeah, go ahead.
sir, like I used a double main and I declared a char character A and I
Mhm.
returned character. So, sir, like char character A is like it is neither a int nor a double. Sir, it's a character. So, how is a double uh, like what it is doing to get the character to
Yeah. So
this?
basically, small a means 97. So whenever you say small a, it is basically 97 as an integer. So essentially, it is simply returning 97 as the returned value for your program. That is the idea. Okay.
So, sir, it is returning like 90. So, like return 0 and return 97 are different, I guess.
Ret- Sorry, I keep missing your voice in between. What is it?
So,
Return
I
zero
was
and
saying return 97 are different, I guess.
no. So
So,
basically, yeah. So idea is like this. Anything other than zero, it could be -1 or -1001. It is treated as the same way for the by the operating system, right? Um, in case it wants to, that is the idea. In case it wants to check up your return value, the only thing it cares, it's similar to your true and false, right? Everything in C that is not zero is true. Okay, even negative numbers are true, right? So if you write while 1 or while -1, it is just the same, right? The
okay,
only
sir.
thing
So,
is 0 is false and everything else is true. So the same thing is here in the returned values also. The only distinction is between 0 and non-zero values. So what is probably happening here is that because char a means a is 97, the it's not the returned value that is of interest here. It's that how is it being implicitly typecasted from double to an integer, because the value that should finally go back to your operating system has to be an integer. So exactly how does it get converted to a double and then recasted back to an integer, that I don't know. In fact, it is much better to try to return 4.5, for example, and see what happens. Maybe again, even with 4.5, we can truncate the point 0.5 and just return the 4 part, right? So it's heavily implementation dependent. But one idea is that the final value that is returned actually from a process. It is not just a C program. Any process, it could be a Java program, it could be a Python program, it could be a shell script, right? Like you see the ld thing, ld returned -1 or something like that. The final value that gets returned back is an integer. That is the idea.
so, sir, if it is returning positive, does that mean that if after that return character I write anything, it will be executed? Because return 0
Mm,
means that
no, 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 no,
the
no, no,
function
no.
has ended.
Yeah, so that anyhow will not be executed. You write anything after your return statement, that will never be executed, irrespective of what you return. Return statement is the last statement that is executed for that particular function. Once a return statement is encountered, nothing before that. In fact, in Java, you'll actually get an error. There will be an error like out of reach code or something like that. Okay, in C you will not get an error. Okay, but that code is basically dead code, because in compilers terminology we call such code as dead code, because it's a code that will never be executed. So when you guys will study compilers, there will be a unit on uh, optimizations. Okay, code optimizations. So this is actually one of the optimizations that your compilers do, dead code elimination. That if it is absolutely sure that this code will never be executed, your compiler simply removes it from your executable. It is never a part of your executable. Okay, so
So sir, what is the difference between return 0 and return anything else, like true and false?
as I said, it is a convention, especially for a non-main function. It will have semantics of your program. Okay, whatever you return, you interpret it the way you want. But for main, there is a convention. Convention says that if your program, not just a program, as I said, any process that was created by your operating system, if it ends with a value, if the value it returns at on ending is 0, your operating system can assume that everything went fine. Okay, your process completed its expected task and it exited. If it returns anything else, your operating system will come to know that some problem happened, something happened, your process did not execute as expected. So it's more of a convention. It's not like your operating system is going to take some action over it. That is why I gave a very simple example, that maybe your operating system might show some kind of a helpful message saying that it looks like your process did not exit it properly. Would you like me to restart it, something like this, right? It's up to your operating system what to do with it. But the only thing that is of your that you should understand is that once you write a return statement, nothing else is executed. And the best way to tell your operating system that everything went fine is to return 0, and anything other than 0 means that your operating system will feel something went wrong. It is not going to investigate what went wrong. It's just that just a kind of courtesy message to your operating system that I did not do what I was expected to do. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I think we've already run out of time, and we'll have a lab for you guys tomorrow. I still have to make a problem statement for you. I had some back papers to take this weekend, so I'm flooded with and the Wednesday lecture too. No, not pointers, Avantika. Up to whatever we did before midsem. Okay. Loops, mostly loops, arrays, that kind of stuff. Not pointers, not functions. Okay? Just whatever we did before midsem, up to that point. So yeah, so there will be a lab for you guys tomorrow. And did I tell you guys that yeah, that I think I have told you, right? That you will be allowed to use any online compilers. So if any one of you are not able to, up to week 5, Sahil. Okay, now labs are always going to be progressively harder. It's not like it will be based only on the concept of week 5. Okay, anything up to the concept up to week 5 can be used. So labs are always going to be progressively harder. So the next week's lab will be up to week 6. So you'll need concepts not only from week 6 but 4, 5, 3, like this. Okay, so it's that kind of a thing. Yeah, there is frequency and there is cumulative frequency. So this is cumulative kind of stuff. So you have to be ready with any concepts that you have studied till now. Yeah, so I mean, you'll have your lab on the regular slot. What is it, 3 to 5, right? What happened with the class that used to be at 5:30? Is it still there at 5:30? You used to have some class now.
I
Uh,
don't think
Acha.
so.
Okay, it is there, right? Okay, so what we'll do is mm, I'll talk to
Sir,
TAs. Maybe
tomorrow
we
we
can.
don't have class. I think. It's on Wednesday.
So we probably
Sorry,
don't have class tomorrow.
you don't have that class tomorrow?
It's on
No,
Wednesday,
sir,
I
that's
think.
the one at 5:30. No, it's on
Ah,
Tuesday, but actually, uh, sir is leaving, and ma'am will start teaching us now EE, but we haven't got like details of when exactly, so probably not tomorrow.
acha, sorry. So it will be with IT plus. Yeah, I mix it up. That problem is with IT guys. That the class is right after the lab, so it is not with you guys anyhow. So you guys have no issues. So we'll have your lab from 3 to 5 usually. Okay. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.